This is Valley News Live at 10.
May God forgive him. But we are glad that he will no longer hurt her.
So one of the family members of the two victims shot yesterday at a popular Fargo Mexican restaurant.
They say they're speaking out, hoping to save just one life from domestic violence. 21-year-old Lucia and her 7-month-old son, Dominique, were shot just before 2 yesterday afternoon at Plaza Azteca off of Veterans Boulevard in Fargo. Police say this man, 24-year-old Malik Gill, pulled the trigger before stealing a car and leading police on a high-speed chase in Clay County, where officials say he crashed and later shot himself.
Tonight, Garcia and her son remain at Sanford Hospital alive, but with a long road to recovery. Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter Bailey Hurley sat down with the family today. It's a story you'll only see here on Valley News Live.
I would give my life to see my daughter get up off that bed.
Immense blood loss and a bullet to a major artery near her clavicle has Lucia Garcia fighting for her life, still in critical but stable condition.
We're just trying to stay strong for my sister.
Lopez says while she was emotional to get the call about her sister and nephew being gunned down by Garcia's boyfriend, 24-year-old Malik Gill, she says she wasn't shocked, saying her sister and Gill have been in a tumultuous relationship for nearly 2 years.
I think it just came to a point where we as a family felt like unless she decided to walk out of the relationship for good, then there was not a whole lot that we could force her to do.
In April, charges were filed against Gill for domestic assault after court documents say he pushed Lucia to the ground and grabbed her by the throat. A warrant was still out for Gill's arrest at the time of the shooting, and a no-contact order was in place. But Lopez says the two were back together shortly after the incident.
She would just make up with him and things would go on like nothing had happened. She is a good girl who made a mistake. Trying to build a family of her own.
The family says they hope sharing Lucia and Dominique's story will help other domestic violence victims find the strength and courage to leave before it's too late.
You don't want to go through what we're going through or have your family go through what we're going through. There's really no words. Seeing her, it breaks our hearts.
And her family says while they know she's not out of the woods, they say Lucia is a fighter. Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
The family adds, despite bullets hitting him in the stomach, thigh, and hand, 7-month-old Dominique is expected to make a full recovery. Meanwhile, we talked to local mental health experts about how people who witnessed this shooting can move forward and how you can help.
About one of the best ways we can support the community, loved ones, people who witnessed this, or people just who experienced it kind of vicariously through coverage or whatever, is we want to normalize the conversation around emotions, mental health.
Saylor says it's important to respect others' space, but says opening the conversation and letting them know they have a support system is paramount. We're also learning that Plaza Azteca plans to reopen tomorrow. The owners posted on Facebook saying they took today off for the victims and their employees.
All right, switching gears now to the weather department. We had a wet evening and a few cool days ahead. First Alert Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson. His details. Hutch.
Justin, thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. What a Thursday it's been. A lot of rain throughout the day. Some of us seeing more than others, but it did have some impacts. Check this out. Marshall County, Minnesota, near that rural Holt area. Look at all the water. Now, this isn't all from just the rain today, and most likelihood that ground very soggy. And today's rain certainly, well, it just doesn't have anywhere to go. So again, we continue to see troubles. We'll track this water as it goes through. And how about this vision? Fergus Falls, undulatus asperatus clouds. Yeah, I talk about those burps in the atmosphere, but I love clouds. Clouds have a way of showing us what the atmosphere is doing. Those waves out there, just amazing. Thanks for uploading your photos. You can see more at valleynewslive.com. Our swirling curly queue of weather today continues, particularly eastern South Dakota and the Lakes country, where you'll see more prolonged rain into the early overnight. The yellows here, some pretty heavy stuff moving out of Watertown towards Grant and parts of eastern Otter Tail County. Breaking up a bit in the Northern Valley, and we do have what was thunder showers out in the central Dakotas making its way towards us at this time. It's moving in on Carrington. We did see over an inch in some areas in Yellow and Towner County and upwards of a ½ inch to an inch in Marshall County, where we saw that in the Holt area. And here's this narrow band of showers that hit the FM area, delivering a 1/10 or 2/10 in town. But to the south of us, it was definitely a little more robust in places, a few tenths to an inch or so. Temperatures are in the 50s. We're already in the mid-40s up north. And by morning, some of you could see flakes. I'll have the latest in your updated forecast coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
New tonight, we now know 2 teens were rescued after falling into the Pelican River Sunday afternoon at Dutton Locks Park. Becker County Sheriff's Office says the teens fell into the river and were swept into the lake by the current, went about 100 yards from shore. Family and friends with kayaks were able to get them and throw them life jackets. They were both treated by first responders on scene.
5 people are recovering from serious injuries after a crash involving a washed out road. That happened yesterday about 6 miles south of Lisbon. The crash report says 43-year-old Wesley Allender of Lisbon was driving an SUV when he went into a washout and crashed into an embankment. He and 4 of his teen passengers were all hurt. 3 of them had to be airlifted to the hospital. Authorities say none of them were wearing seatbelts.
The search continues for a 13-year-old boy from Grand Forks County. The Sheriff's Office says Timothy Carpenter was last seen Tuesday in the area around University Park. They say he was wearing a black sweatshirt, jeans, tennis shoes, and riding an orange bike. He's described as 5'5", about 110 pounds, with blue eyes. And you can see him here, but authorities say he recently may have dyed his hair brown. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Sheriff's Office.
Jamestown police are asking for help finding a girl who they believe ran away. 17-year-old Jasmine Rudland left home around 2:30 yesterday afternoon and hasn't returned. She was last seen wearing jeans, shorts, and a black and white flannel shirt. They say she's possibly in the Valley City area. Anyone with information is asked to call local law enforcement or Valley City Police. New tonight, a woman's in jail after leading police on a chase in Foston last night. Police say they tried to pull over a woman for running a stop sign, but 26-year-old Gabrielle Clicker of Lengby, Minnesota, led them on a chase. She eventually crashed into a ditch and then ran before being arrested. She was booked into the Tri-County Jail for fleeing in a motor vehicle and outstanding warrants. A middle school principal from Hennepin County is now facing charges after prosecutors say he tried to hire a 15-year-old prostitute. It was actually an undercover officer. Officers placed multiple ads on websites offering prostitution services and arrested 38-year-old Eagle Ridge Middle School principal Muhammad Ali Salim after he agreed to meet a 15-year-old girl. He now remains behind bars, facing a felony charge of prostitution involving a minor. 3 other men were arrested during the sting operation. It's Marathon Week in Fargo. Still ahead, we'll introduce you to some of the future marathoners enjoying their own kind of race tonight.
And another view of some, well, undulatus asperatus clouds near Breckenridge. Look at those waves in the sky. Gorgeous photos. Wow, it was rainy, it was soggy, it was wet, and well, for some, we could have a little light in the morning. Your hour-by-hour forecast on some chilly conditions next.